네, 알고와 기쁘다 PPL 오셨네. 오늘은 테오라는 RWA 프로젝트에 대해서 알아보겠습니다. 이들이 선보인 제품이요, 디파이 시장에서 큰 인기를 끌고 있다라고 합니다. 이 콘텐츠는 테오의 후원을 받아 제작했습니다. 모든 투자는 투자자 본인의 책임입니다. 일단 이제 먼저 한국의 사용자들을 위해서 자기소개 부탁드리겠습니다.
안녕하세요, 친구들.
와, 친구들.
My name is Iggy Ayope. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Theo Network. Theo Network is a new kind of a financial institution that's built from the ground up in order to take real-world assets, RWAs, beyond issuance. So a little bit about my background is it spans both software, traditional finance, or TradFi as we call it, and crypto. I started my career at Bain Capital, which is private equity, working in the day when Mitt Romney was still running the place. And then I went to Harvard Business School, also in Boston. And there I started a software company called Location Labs, moved it to Silicon Valley, and ultimately we grew to 300 people and eventually sold the company for over 200 million. And the interesting thing there is my first client at Location Labs was SK Telecom in Korea. So I started coming to Korea when I was still at school. And what I found is that people were extremely open to new technologies, new things. And in fact, after I got SK Telecom, then eventually I ended up getting, a lot more customers in the US. But I'm very grateful to Korea because when I was very, very young, just starting out, and people were willing to take a risk on my company, and that was proven very, very successful. So after Location Labs, I became a technology investor. I worked for a big hedge fund in Boston covering tech. And then I ran prop trading, proprietary trading in long-short equities at Credit Suisse. And that was a global team, including US and Asia. Then started my own hedge fund with a partner, where we were also global technology investors, investing in tech stocks, mostly public companies. And then most recently, I was a global co-head of Polygon Ventures, which is a crypto VC that was started by Polygon Labs and the Polygon chain. And this is actually how I met Theo originally. So as part of my work as a VC, we were meeting with hundreds of companies, and we made several dozen investments in everything ranging from infrastructure to gaming to real world assets. And I met the founders of Theo before they even started the project. And what really impressed me about them is that they had really deep knowledge of traditional finance and how markets work, because their background is they're market makers at the top tier firms. They're quantitative, high-speed market making. So these are the smartest people on Wall Street, right? They also are really good engineers, and they really understood crypto. So they had all three things together that very few people had. So I decided to keep track of whatever this team was going to do next. And when they started Theo, I became an advisor, eventually investor. And then now I joined full-time as the CIO, or Chief Investment Officer.
오케이. 지금 현재 우리 이기님이 한국과의 굉장히 재밌는 인연을 말씀해 주셨네요. 첫 번째 클라이언트가 한국에 있는 SK텔레콤이라는 통신사였다고. 지금은 현재 테오의 CIO를 맡고 계십니다. 그러면 여기서 궁금한 거, 테오는 간단히 말해서 어떤 프로젝트일까요?
What exactly? Yeah. So we know it has a great team that really know their stuff. And so I've been following this. The real world asset is the space that we're in, or RWAs. And I've been following it since 2015. As soon as Ethereum came out, people started talking about rewiring the global financial system on the blockchain rails. Because basically right now, the whole global banking system, asset management, it works on systems that are built in the 1950s and 70s. A lot of that is on mainframes and written with COBOL, which is a super old programming language. So the potential was always there. But a lot of the projects that I saw, and even the large trillion-dollar institutions, what they did is they would take some fund or some asset, they would tokenize it, put it on chain, and then it just sits there. After issuance, nothing happens. So we call it tokenization theater, where you tokenize something, you make a nice press release, and then you count it as your TVL, right, or the total value log. So you say, hey, we have now 50 million in this token, but the token just sits there because for regulatory reasons, out of irrational fears, for whatever reason they're not allowing the token to connect to actually the global DeFi ecosystem, to the global blockchains. So Theo is addressing this next stage, right? So it's kind of like we actually have even a slide there with the iceberg. I don't know if you can pull it up, but it shows that how the iceberg has 10% above and 90% below. So the tokenization is the easy part. The important part is everything that happens after. So at Theo, our North Star is to specifically focus on this beyond issuance, right? So this is creating the liquidity for these assets so you can actually trade them, actually connect them to DeFi, and actually do something with them. Because what's the point of tokenizing if you don't use it? So in order to do it, we have several layers in the stack. So it starts with compliance, right? So we partner with the bluest of the blue chip institutions. So recently announced partnership with Wellington Management, which is $1 trillion asset management company out of Boston actually, and Standard Chartered, which is a global bank for our THBuild product, which we'll get to in a second. But the general idea is all of our partnerships are going to be with the blue chip global institutions, that the product has to be extremely high quality. The next level is tokenization engine. This part we have it, but everybody else has it too. So this is kind of a commodity. The most interesting stuff is what happens after tokenization. The next level is the trading infrastructure, or what we called in the hedge fund world, we used to call it OMS, or order management system. You cannot begin to provide liquidity unless you have a really fast trading info. And of course, our founders, because they're market makers, they really know how to build fast, efficient, low-cost trading systems. The next level is connecting to the liquidity venues, right? So we are big fans of Hyperliquid, so we connect our assets, we connect with Hyperliquid, Hyper EVM, but THBuild is already also on Ethereum, it's on Arbitrum and Base, and there's going to be more chains and more protocols. We want to connect with every place where liquidity is to be found, because our North Star is liquidity. This is something that all of these real world assets, all the people that have worked so hard to tokenize them, they don't have liquidity. So the connection is the next level. The next level is the tech, right? So the market making algorithms that actually allow us to provide liquidity for these assets. And then the final level is capital, right? So in order to make market, you need capital. And for that, we have the pipeline of LPs, or liquidity providers, that are going to provide capital for us to make market in these assets. Right now, THBuild is a money market fund on chain, so you don't need to make market in it, right? It gives you a predetermined set of returns. But we have plans to tokenize many more real world assets like stocks, gold, private equity, private credit. So for that, we will make market. So all of this stack is built from the ground up. And this is something that other people haven't thought about. So when as a crypto VC, I had a 360 view of the whole landscape. And Theo is the only project that's actually addressing what the real issue is. Is you have to have all these elements, otherwise you're not going to have the liquidity.
지금 현재 이제 테오가 어떤 일을 하는지에 대해서 자세히 말씀 주셨습니다. 특히나 이제 RWA 실물 자산을 토큰화 시키는 데 있어서 테오가 선진적인 역할을 하고 있는데요. 그렇다라고 하면 이제 궁금한 게 어쨌든 우리 이기님이 전통 금융업계에서 굉장히 긴 투자 경험을 가지고 계십니다. 그걸 기반해서 봤을 때 이 토큰화된 RWA가 전통 금융 투자자들한테 어떤 변화를 갖고 올까? 라고 생각하고 계신지 여쭤보겠습니다.
So how will it change the landscape for the traditional investor? Yeah, so there is this, there's a huge need on both sides, right? So the traditional investors right now in the US, they can access a lot of these RWA chains and in the developed world. But if you think about 8 billion people in the world, 7 billion out of them, they cannot access these RWAs at all. So we have the world's, especially in the last 10 to 20 years, the United States financial market has been the world's greatest wealth creation engine. And 7 billion people out of 8 don't have any access to it. So the RWA on chain, and we want to be like the biggest player in it. The aim is to democratize that access. That's the first thing. Second thing is Korea is now a developed country, right? It's not an emerging market anymore. So here you can buy NVIDIA stock in your brokerage account. It's pretty low cost and easy. But what we can provide is connection to DeFi, right? So if it's tokenized NVIDIA stock, which is something we have on our roadmap, tokenized equities, then you can connect it to DeFi. For example, you can use it in Borderland platform. You can pledge it as collateral. And we're also going to launch, for all the assets that were tokenized, we're going to launch perpetual futures on hyperliquid specifically. And again, the idea is to enhance the liquidity because it's already proven that any asset that also has perps or perpetual futures on it, it increases liquidity in the spot. So it benefits people even if you don't necessarily want to play in a perpetual futures market. And also it allows us to run arbitrage between spot and the perps. And that all of that creates a revenue stream that eventually will accrue to our token holders, right? So eventually we'll have a token, we'll share the revenues of the Theo protocol with the community. What will change is that we will make market in the spot. So let's say we tokenize gold, and it's going to be TH Gold after THBL. And by the way, so I did some research while I was here in Korea, and it's pretty easy to buy US public shares, but it's not so easy to buy gold. Either you get charged a huge fee, or you have to do it in massive size, like 1 kilogram, or there's one ETF, which is very small. It's only 200 million USD market cap, and it trades like $2-3 million worth of volume per day. So you know at that low trading volume, you're going to be paying high spreads. So there's really not a good way to buy gold, for example. So that's an aside. But let's say if we have gold, we will make market using our stack that I talked about before, which is the very fast trading system, connection to the liquidity venues, market making algorithms, and the capital to power those algorithms. We'll use that stack to make market in this tokenized gold. We'll create futures in this gold. We will also arbitrage between the two. Each of those activities creates revenue stream that will eventually accrue to our token holders once we issue the token.
지금 이제 여러 가지 전통 금융권이 어떻게 이제 RWA를 받아들이느냐 부분에 대해서 말씀을 주셨는데 어떤 변화를 가져올지에 대해서 굉장한 거래 효율화를 이룰 수 있다라는 말씀을 주셨습니다. 그럼 이제 테오가 내놓은 프로덕트에 대해서 자세하게 알아볼 텐데요. 계속 얘기가 나왔던 그 TH빌 얘기를 일단 들어볼 텐데 TH빌이 굉장한 성공을 거뒀습니다. 그 성공의 이유가 무엇인지 그리고 TH빌 이외에 테오는 현재 어떤 제품을 준비하고 있는지를 좀 여쭤보겠습니다.
But THBL it was only launched roughly 10 days ago.
Oh,
and
really?
And it's already reached 32 million in TVL. And it's growing steadily. So it's not like some whale put in 30 million in one shot. It's come from many different investors and it's steadily growing. So clearly there is what we call a product market fit, right? Where the dogs like the dog food, so to speak, right? It's like they're eating it. So the reason it's there, so we can start with stable coins, for example. So stable coins are $270 billion asset, and they trade. The last 12 months, they traded 50 trillion US dollars of volume. So there's a massive need and massive usage. That's a proven success. But if you own stable coins with very minor exceptions, you get no yield on it. So in my view, people are getting screwed. Yes, they're happy to have the US dollars, but they need to get at least a risk-free rate. So to me, if I had stable coins right now, I would convert 100% of it to THBL. Because you can do all the same things you can do with stable coins with THBL. We're on multiple chains, and with our partnership with Stargate Layer 0, it connects to like 80 chains. And we're going to have more direct connections. Again, in just a couple of weeks, we launched on 4 chains with 7 DeFi protocols. And the tech team is just unbelievably good. So they're launching more and more connections every week, every day. So I think THBL is successful because it's composable. And by composable, I mean you can connect it to DeFi. Whatever you do with stablecoins, you can do with THBL, right? You can pledge it as collateral, you can lend it out, you can do like looping, you can do various strategies to enhance the return. But you're also getting your risk-free rate, which is 4.3%, right? And it's not nothing, right? Why would you want to keep your essentially cash under the mattress where it's earning you nothing? In fact, there is inflation. United States government is also printing money, maybe not as much as some other countries, but there is still inflation. So to me, is that proven model of stablecoins, that's a natural transition into the money market fund on chain, provided it connects to DeFi. I mean, there is a few other things out there that are created by what I call legacy players, companies that were started 5, 6, 7 years ago. They have this sort of money market fund on chain, but it is very it's not permissionless, it's not composable, it doesn't link to DeFi. You have to fill a bunch of paperwork, you have huge minimums. In the case of THBL, there's no minimum, it's permissionless, and you keep it in your wallet, right? It's a self-custody, so you don't have to trust some other protocol that's here today, gone tomorrow. It's in your wallet, and then you connect it to DeFi. And in fact, we designed our interface, like the whole, the Theo app, to be as streamlined as possible to give you access directly into these DeFi venues. We're not trying to be the marketplace. We're not trying to be the Borderland platform. We just want to give you access to the world of DeFi. You can connect anywhere you want. So I think all of these reasons is, and again, this is kind of crazy, but I have not seen a product, except for some very, very small things with, kind of experimental level, that actually gives you permissionless, no minimum access to risk-free rate.
지금 현재 이제 테오의 강점에 대해서 설명 주셨는데요. 제가 이제 테오 같은 RWA 스타트업한테 항상 궁금한 점이 있습니다. 사실 블랙락 레리 핑크 회장 역시 25년 주주 서한에서 금융자산의 토큰화를 강조했어요. 이 월스트리트 자체가 전통 금융기관들이 토큰화, 온체인 통합 직접 뛰어들려고 하고 있거든요. 그렇다라고 하면 이 테오와 같은 스타트업이 과연 이 분야에서 어떤 역할을 할 수 있을지, 과연 이게 그들과 경쟁했을 때 강점이 있을지가 궁금합니다.
A lot of people ask that question. So when I was at Polygon, Polygon was one of the pioneers after Ethereum, and even today, you had the tokenization projects that are being announced now. After Ethereum, it's usually Polygon and a couple of other chains. So I was there in the room when Polygon was doing the tokenization deals, the early ones that kind of set the framework. So I have never seen major financial institutions do the tokenization themselves. It's just a completely different business model, right? They want distribution for their product. They're in the business of asset management and asset gathering, right? Growing AUM and generating returns, right? They're not in the business of writing smart contracts. They're not in the business of building this whole stack that I talked about, market making algorithm, right? Connecting to DeFi venues, right? Like as I mentioned, in a couple of weeks, we connected 4 chains and 7 DeFi protocols based on working with these institutions for several years. And before that, I was inside of them, right inside Credit Suisse and working with other trillion-dollar institutions like Blackstone. It's it would take them 2 years to get there. Not because they don't have smart people, but because they have process, right? They have meetings, they have procedures. And if you're a trillion-dollar institution, you have to have everything. It's very similar to back in the day when I worked with wireless carriers, when I worked with SK Telecom and KT and LG and in the US, Verizon, Sprint. They cannot afford to make any mistakes, right? So that's first of all, is they're extremely conservative. And second, they don't have expertise. I'm not gonna mention, but there's one institution that is in the headlines every day about tokenization. It's a multi-trillion-dollar institution. Their digital asset team is less than 10 people, right? So they partner for everything, right? They want to distribute their funds and their products on chain, but they're not going to do it themselves. They're just you cannot even imagine the world where the Fidelities, BlackRocks of this world are going to start going on chain and connecting on launching perpetual futures on Hyperliquid in order to create liquidity for their tokens. They're just a completely different part of the value chain.
Additionally, what are the Teo's strengths compared to the other RWA startup in the scene?
Yeah, so I was completely shocked, and I did some more research on that in recent weeks. BlackRock, for example, has BUIDL, which is a very well known, it's an excellent product, but it has a $5 million minimum, and it is limited to only large institutions. So this is basically only makes sense as a wholesale. To my earlier point, right? They want BUIDL, of course, to become as big as possible, but they're partnering with other people that are using BUIDL as collateral and then take it on chain and then go on further. There is another project that I don't want to speak badly of anybody, but I thought that they had a money market fund on chain, but when I tried to use it, you cannot buy it on Uniswap, you cannot buy it on Binance or Upbit or any centralized exchanges. Basically, the only way to buy it is from the company itself. And you have to create a Web2 login with a username and password. You don't buy it by connecting the wallet. So again, I go back to tokenization theater. The one product that I thought was a legitimate alternative it actually is completely not permissionless. It's not self-custody. It doesn't trade. You can't even buy it. So to me, it's like the only thing, I think there might be some really small projects, but by the way, Theo, we raised $20 million from brand name crypto VCs, like Hack VC, and also we had the who is who of market making firms participating in our round. In addition to that, the angels that invested in that round are from the TradFi, the traditional finance market making firms. So the angels work at Citadel, Jane Street, Hudson River Trading, IMC, Optiver. These are like, again, these are the smartest people in all of Wall Street because they actually run the markets. We have, substantial funding. Every investor is blue chip. And to me, that was also a big endorsement because I invested first. When I saw that the team was able to raise money from the smartest people, smartest guys in the room, as they're called, I said, listen, I need to join myself because it always made sense to me, but then my personal view was validated by all of these other blue chip smart people. So I'm not too worried about the small. If you look at the momentum for us in terms of TVL growth, I'm not worried about some small startup. But the larger ones, basically they're not permissionless. So when I was an entrepreneur, I'd always say, oh, we don't have competition. And when I was VC, I never believed it. Right? That, there's got to be competition. The real competition is stable coins. That is something that everybody uses. It's truly permissionless, it connects everywhere, but you don't have a yield.
지금 이제 테오 얘기를 듣고 나니까 혹시 테오 토큰 투자에 관심이 가는 분들도 계실 것 같습니다. 일단 이거부터 여쭤보고 갈게요. What are the Teo's TGE plan or IPO plan?
So no traditional IPO.
Okay.
We're definitely on chain. Everything we do is fully on chain. We're very grateful to our community, right? People that invest in our products. So for sure, we plan to share.
No IPO?
What's that?
IPO.
Not IPO in the sense of taking a traditional C corp or on Nasdaq or NYSE. That wouldn't be the plan. It would definitely be token. And we definitely will have a token, and the token will receive a portion of the revenue that the protocol generates. And there are several layers. There are several layers of that revenue. So just to be clear, we're going to have the LPs that buy, for example, THBL. The LPs, they get the money market rate of return. And also accumulate points towards future token, right? So the more capital you have in THBL, for the longer, then you will accumulate points that will eventually lead to the airdrop when the token is created. Then the token holders are going to get a portion of our revenue model, so to speak. And again, so nothing is guaranteed. So I'm not committing to our revenue model will be, but most likely something that would make sense. We have market making revenue from spot. Let's say we take tokenized gold, we'll make market in it, that generates revenue. We create perpetual futures, and then we run arbitrage between spot and perps. That creates revenue also. Just the trading itself, potentially we could be getting a percentage of the trading fees. We could also potentially have percentage of the minting. So every time you mint THBL, as opposed to just buy it on a DEX, for example, that creates revenue. So there's multiple revenue streams, the ones that's working. And also a percentage of the return, right? So every money market mutual fund has a small fee. Right, so the 4.3%, we would have a percentage of that. So most of it, of course, goes to the LPs, right, the people that provide the capital. But some small management fee, like any fund always has a management fee, that would go to the Theo protocol, and that will be shared with token holders. So what I like about this kind of a token model is there are multiple ways that the token holders will participate.
So when will token launch?
So I'm definitely not here to announce.
First quarter or next year?
Well, I think the current plan is to have it sometime this year. Yeah.
오케이. 이 테오 토큰에 대해서 이제 약간 어쨌든 연내에 런칭을 희망한다라고 말씀 주셨는데요. 개인적으로 궁금합니다. 테오 토큰이 런칭이 된다라고 하면 만약에 내가 일반 투자자라고 하면 과연 이기님은 테오 토큰에 투자를 할까요? 그리고 이기님이 생각하는 이 테오 토큰의 이 시가총액은 어느 정도로 희망하고 계신지 궁금합니다.
Well, I definitely cannot make that forecast. I would say, right, so I'm definitely, I made the ultimate investment, which is I joined. And I already invested in Theo, right? So I guess I already, it's not technically the token, but it's a similar idea, right? So I am already, I'm already in it. So I think on the first point, I would say yes. That's safe to say. Obviously, market cap is depend on market condition, a million things. But I will say that the opportunity is massive, right? So you have 1.5 quadrillion of real-world assets, real-world financial assets out there, which is 500 trillion of equity, 500 trillion of debt, 500 trillion of real assets, like commodities and gold. So almost none of that is on chain now. You have only a few billion. The entire crypto market cap just crossed 4 trillion. So you're looking at 1.5 quadrillion. This is several orders of magnitude more. World Economic Forum talked about 10% in 5 to 10 years of real world asset and of economic activity migrating on chain. Even if you say 1%, right, that's a 15 trillion, that's already 4 times bigger than the crypto market cap. So the opportunity is huge. And again, to me, that was always known. But the shocking thing is, that there is very few people that are addressing it properly, which is in a permissionless way and actually benefiting. To me, the first phase of the evolution of Web3 and blockchains was the cryptocurrency, right? So you had the Bitcoin, which is amounts for most of it, and we created these amazing technologies like Borderland platforms, decentralized exchanges, and many other innovations, and they were battle tested using cryptocurrency. But the real opportunity is to take this tech, right, this kind of a Web3 blockchain, and put the real world assets on it. And because cryptocurrency that's not backed by anything, eventually it's only going to get that big, because the real world assets that actually help the real economy, build homes and factories and offices and whatever, that's always going to be bigger than the cryptocurrency. But so I think it was good that the last, let's say, starting with Ethereum, right, starting with like roughly 15, the last 10 years we sort of perfected the technology. The next order of magnitude bigger step is to take the real world assets, put them on the same rails that are now fast and cheap. Part of the reason that tokenization didn't happen in 2015 and 16, because transaction costs, slow. You didn't have any of these institutions, they didn't have blockchain teams. I mean, there's so many things are different now. The crypto adoption is much higher. So in Korea, I learned during my visit, 27% of Koreans already own crypto, and 14% of assets are in crypto. So, and then, it's pretty like blockchain forward country. So both of these numbers are going to go. So more people will start to own crypto, and then a greater percentage of their assets will shift there. So I can't predict the market cap, but the market opportunity is just insanely huge.
뭔가 적정한 시가총액이 얼마냐라는 질문에 대해서는 정확한 숫자 답을 주진 않았습니다. 하지만 태우가 열려가려고 하는 이 시장 자체가, RWA 시장 자체가 뭐 몇 조 달러지 엄청 큰 시장이고, 게다가 그 시장에서 RWA를 온체인화하는 데 있어서는 태우가 가장 적합한 프로젝트이기 때문에, 그리고 프로젝트를 이끌어가고 있는 팀들이 세계 최상의 팀이기 때문에 그런 점을 감안하면 감안해야 된다 정도로 이제 말씀을 주셨습니다. 예, 지금까지 이제 RWA 실물 자산의 토큰화에 있어서 프론티어 가장 앞장서 있는 테오 프로젝트에 대해서 알아봤습니다. 이 컨텐츠는 테오의 후원을 받아 제작했습니다. 모든 투자는 투자자 본인의 책임입니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.